So, welcome everyone. Today, Eternal Forest Conversation number 3, I guess number 4. And today we are talking about tuning into our feminine nature. And we have a beautiful, beautiful guest with us, a very special guest, Kathleen Brigidina. And I'm really happy to have you, Kathleen, with us. And finally, we are all in the same space, in the same room. And this conversation is special. I think it's special because of the time that we all experiencing, of the power of the feminine that's really calling upon us, of the work that you have been doing and the TreeSisters have been doing, and also of the energies that I have been feeling recently and have been calling to me. And this session, as all of them, are going to be in 2 parts. The first part, I'm going to share some of the things that I like inside Eternal Forest Project. And then I will give complete freedom to Kathleen, and she will take us to a special place. I would just like to acknowledge that somebody very special introduced me to TreeSisters. Susan Steer, and she told me that I have to work with TreeSisters and I have to connect with them. And when I did, when I entered into the platform, into the nest, Kathleen from the very start became my sister, my friend, my mentor, my creative doula, and we started having lots of beautiful conversations. They're always very, very special. And this exchange has been continuing now for many months. And our hope is that one day we will find format, a way, a moment, when the moment is ripe to collaborate between the project of Eternal Forest and the beautiful movement that TreeSisters managed to create. I would like to say from my perspective that for me, the whole organization of TreeSisters is this incredibly powerful, incredibly beautiful, incredibly gentle way of doing the work that needs to be done in the world, connecting people and forests, humans and trees, and being able to contribute with our work to the beauty, biodiversity, and lushness on this beautiful planet Earth. And I'm incredibly grateful that Claire and her team managed to do this work and continue and really stay together and grow and expand and attract many more women and men to this movement. And I'm hoping that with my own work and with the work of my team, we will be able to contribute to the work that they're doing and start connecting the dots on multiple levels. I do believe that in this time, we must work together. We must connect the dots between the organizations, between the human beings, between the different levels of society. And yes, this time is special. But okay, back to our theme. I would like to start by sharing something I've written 1 year ago when I developed the vision for Eternal Forest Sanctuary. It is a very short text, but I think when I saw this text this morning, I thought this is something I would like to read to you and share with you. And after that, I would like to perhaps share a little bit more about the vision of Eternal Forest Sanctuary, because a lot of you here who are here for the first time. So I would like to offer you a little bit more in-depth vision. So I start with the text. So this text is inside the book Eternal Forest Manifesto. And it is right at the beginning, before all the poetry that I wrote last year when I was thinking, feeling into the space and creating the idea of what a forest sanctuary can be or can become. And this is what came to me. It started when we came out of sacred space and time, outside of it, exited it, broken through, we separated from it. We partitioned sacred space, cut it into many parts. Some parts we considered no longer sacred. We could do things in these parts that we could not do in the sacred space because we were together with it, within it, one with it. We found out we could treat elements of space as separate. We also found out we could reconstruct, resynthesize, remake these elements into structures and create new spaces for ourselves. We still attended our sacred space outside of our new spaces. We give it special meaning and we give it a special time. We adorn it, we treasure it, we guard it, while it holds the memory of wholeness for us. We enjoy our new spaces more and more, and we make new, more complex, more exquisite new spaces. We need more space for our experimentation. We cut off more space from the sacred space. Those of us who see where it was going conceal the sacred space within structures that can be within the new spaces. We create so that we feel sacred space is always there in our domestic realm within reach. Sacred space is caged in structures we have elaborately created. These structures become more sacred than the sacred space itself. Our sacred time, our continuity of sacred space, is divided meticulously into new chunks of time, and then we start to watch time, sell time, buy time, and value new times more than sacred time. Those of us who see where it was going give sacred time a special place, so we can live it together or alone, but in an organized manner, one day a week or on a Sunday. Our new structures, however, increasingly demand our attention, and as we give them more and more time and space, as we run out of time to attend to sacred space in sacred time. Sacred space shrinks to the smallest point, and we do not remember anymore where it is. We cannot find it. That point still guards our memory, but we have no way of accessing it, no capacity, no will. What was visible became invisible. What was invisible we made tangible. We are inside time, outside of sacred time. We are inside space, outside of sacred space. If only we could unfold sacred space out of one point in space. But where is this point? And where do we start? I start where I begin. I cut back my time and space and leave it to be, to rest, to recover and dream. I leave it on, recording, remembering, resetting. I leave it on. I leave it to be. Release it. Release it. One day it takes me in and lets me be, to rest, recover, and dream. I leave myself remembering, responding, recreating. Sacred space is restored through sacred time. It asks me to find a structure so that I can also bring you here. A simple, uncomplicated structure so that we can enter it once again. The structure becomes sacred work. My sacred work is the sacred structure of the forest. Within it, sacred space and time can emerge. Forests are outside of our time and space. They are the last structure standing, left open with a trace of memory, which allows us to do sacred work. They're simple, yet complex, self-organizing, yet requiring our attention, imagination, surrender, and patience. I go to the forest and see, hear, smell, and feel nothing. I can see one tree, I see another tree, and one more in the distance. I lie down. It takes me in, inside and open, Vaulted rotten trunk, one I have often passed by. In emptiness I stay, outside of any time, outside of any space. Between sacred space, and between sacred time and time, I witness everything that cannot be named, there where it cannot be named. As the sacred time expands its pores, sacred space is released. There is a point in the human heart. It has always been there. From that point, memory, recovery, and reopening of the sacred space is possible. So this is this is a piece of prose that I guess comes together for me with Eternal Forest Manifesto, which is a more poetic version of the essence of what Eternal Forest Sanctuary is. And I felt today thinking and feeling into that very fast moving energy that I'm experiencing right now, that I wanted to share this text with you. Somehow it just made sense. And I would like to invite you to feel maybe what it means for you to, in your own life, to experience that sacred time and space. And how do you experience it, and how do you feel it? And how that is supported by the work that you might be doing with forests. So I would like to share a little bit more about the vision for Eternal Forest Sanctuary and what it is. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see. Mm-hmm. You can see my screen, yes? Can everybody see my screen? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I will try to be short and sweet, especially that some of you have heard the story already sometimes. The interesting thing about the work that I'm doing with Eternal Forest is that although the vision stays the same, somehow the story shifts. And the story shifts because the space around me shifts all the time. And with every new cycle, and since the autumn equinox, I felt it's really a new cycle that started for me. And perhaps you felt it as well. The way Eternal Forest is experiencing itself and wants to be, wants to come into words also is shifting. And it is trying to find a new language somehow. It is trying to find new ways of expressing itself, new words, and new creative ways of being. Simply, the project started 3 years ago with my move to Portugal, and here you are seeing one of the experiences which I did last year, exactly when the idea of sanctuary appeared. From the very start, the project was supported by my curiosity of trying to understand the large-scale deforestation and the increasingly pervasive monocultures everywhere in the world. I was trying to understand the situation from perspective of human psyche and why we as humans are creating these kind of spaces, this kind of situations, what is pushing us to do that. There's clearly human decisions behind that work on small and large scale. And although we can say that it's been done by governments and corporations, by them, it's always us who are ultimately supporting these processes and who are behind, whether we want it or not somehow. So my first work was dedicated to raising awareness and trying to understand how to reconnect human psyche with the feeling of the forest, with the being of the forest. And gradually, as the work was evolving, the artistic work was evolving, I came to understand that actually I would like to dedicate my time to creating physical spaces, not only planting trees, but really creating special physical spaces, which can be called sacred spaces, to really try to reopen this deeper connection that we have with nature and with forests. And so currently, as it stands, the vision of this project is to create 1,000 eternal forest sanctuaries across the world and challenge ourselves to protect them for 1,000 years. The project is trying to look at the future, at the generations that come after us, who we don't know. We don't know how they will be. We don't know how they would perceive. We don't know what kind of challenges they would face. But I'm hoping that we could create conditions for them to continue being more in harmony with this planet. And this is nothing new. My deep belief is that we have been living like this for generations and generations. We have been thinking about how do we act now so that the future generations have better conditions. We are always thinking about the future. But right now I feel that this idea of preparing the ground for them to do the work even deeper makes more sense. You see here a name at the top, HabitaRegel. I was doing this presentation actually just 2 days ago for a particular space in Portugal, a new community, emerging community, where there is interest to create one of the sanctuaries. That's why we have the leftover of this name. But basically, what are these places and why I'm thinking it's necessary to create those spaces? I believe that we need long-term protected forests. The problem is that even if we plant trees everywhere, but we cannot guarantee protection from the side of the communities who live around and from the side of the legal side, it's almost like the work is partially in vain. My hope is that these places could be hotspots for biodiversity, and my hope is that by co-creating those spaces, the communities can come together and we can re-establish this flow within communities and people start working together and collaborating. And of course, I'm an artist and I believe in the power of art, and my hope is that art can be a really powerful vehicle in engaging people with the forest, people with nature. This is one of the images where one of the eternal forest sanctuaries will hopefully appear in Portugal. As you already probably understand, what kind of place is it and what is it, how is it different from any kind of old growth forest or natural park, national park, protected conservation project? What is special about it? So I told you at the beginning of this conversation that Eternal Forest is trying to find a new language to express itself. And I was having a deep conversation with my very dear friend, and I believe he's my mentor on this project. And what came up just yesterday is that it's a healing space. And we need those spaces in nature. We need to create if they don't exist, and to protect if they already exist, and to offer to the whole community a possibility of this deep healing that we all need to do on personal level, on the level of relationship between two humans, on the community level, but also to really include all the non-human beings in that process, because we must open our ears, our senses, and beyond the senses to start really listening to what they are trying to communicate. And at first, I was a believer that this communication is possible and it is happening. And now I start receiving more and more information and start being much more open to this, because science is telling us about this, very recent science, but very strong proof that everything is conscious, everything is intelligent, and everything is constantly communicating. We just need to really be able to hear, and sometimes we need to unlearn and relearn ways of this listening. So just to summarize, the way I see those spaces can be created is through art, through community engagement, and through forest protection, both in terms of culture, establishing a specific culture, and legal terms. And what these places can bring, I believe it can help us improve our relationships between ourselves. It can really help us to become more of a communities that we used to be, but in the new changing world, create all these beautiful, complex relationships between us, which are beyond the interactions of, money and the market. I do believe that we must have more hotspots for biodiversity, and they can never be enough for local flora and fauna. I do believe that art can be this vehicle, and I do believe that art is going to change, and people, artists thinking how to work more ecologically, not just in the gallery space, but outside, and how to embed themselves into these regenerative natural ecosystems. This is really going to change the way we look at art, when art is no more disconnected and is just a thing for a gallery and for the market, and we just sell and buy it. But it's something that maybe is part of the natural ecosystem. Why not? I see that there is a possibility for those specific locations to really attract, let's say, pilgrims. I can call them pilgrims, so people who travel, who would like to connect with those special places. And we know that these places exist in the world. And with Kathleen, we have been discussing and thinking together, how could we create maybe some project where we could map those places. So we know they exist. We know that Aboriginal cultures are holding them dear and are protecting them. And if there is a level of consciousness of going to these places and connecting with them, why not we have a map where people can really know where they are. The idea of this existence of the map and knowledge about it and awareness also helps us to protect those places. If we know that it exists, if it's on the map, we cannot say, oh, it wasn't there. We cannot just go and destroy it. It will be easier for us to protect if we know that it's there. And of course, I'm hoping that education will change, and around me where I live, I have a few forest schools already, and these forest schools are doing most part of their work in the forest. They're just really missing those forest spaces, because where do you go to learn? Where do you learn to go about local flora and fauna and all the species that are disappearing in front of our eyes? So I believe it's really high time to create those spaces for the kids to be able to really learn about real things. And my hope is that once this gets going, then we can create a living, breathing, supportive network of sharing this blueprint, so that any community anywhere in the world can basically take this idea and execute it where they are. So I already mentioned quite a lot of these things, I think, in my previous slide. And I would like just to share a few things with you here about art and forest, just to show that it is not something new. It's something that we have been doing as humanity for thousands and thousands of years. I'm not even showing you here any examples that are from ancient times. I'm sure you all have references, you know them. Of course, the cave art is some reference, one of the most ancient references that we have that is still being preserved. Is not exactly forest art, but it's nature, our way of expressing our being, our way of life. But I'm going to share some successful projects where I believe conservation, regeneration and forest go hand in hand, and where this circle is closed. But there is much more to explore, and with my current team of Eternal Forest Global, we are doing the work of trying to map the best case examples and best case scenarios, so we can actually share this with everybody. So just to give you a couple of examples, Forestry England, they have this beautiful program of forest artworks. There's basically sculptures in the forest, commissions happening, artistic residency, and special trails where people can go to the forests and they can explore art at the same time. This is a really beautiful artwork by a group called Semiconductor, and they have been around for a long time. It's a duo, and they have done an artwork which you see, it's a sphere, it's a wooden, I believe, burnt wood sphere, but it has circles, and the circles are connected with the scientific information of weather patterns in this area. So this artwork is staying in the forest, and it will go back to nature. And for me, this is one of the examples, one of the approaches where you really work with the space, with the forest, with the existing ecosystem, and ultimately the artwork just goes back to the ground. This is a really famous, I think, artwork by David Nash called Ash Dome, and yeah, it's a man-created beautiful temple made from ashes, and of course it took years to grow it, and you can go there and experience in different times of the year, and it's always different. Some structures that remind us about temples, and artists playing with the idea of what a temple in nature could be. So this one is modeled on Gothic cathedral, really beautiful, and it's, of course, it's continually growing, so it's always changing. Some artwork like this that is almost super ephemeral. It is constructed and then it's going back to nature quite quickly, I believe. But these are more or less like portals, quite fairy portals in the forest. And I think this is the work that can be done so easily with any community, with kids. And we try to do here something similar with children, and they absolutely love constructing with things they can find in the forest. This is artwork and research by my friend Alan Todd. He is in Portugal. I wanted to mention his work specifically because he is actually claiming forest as art. He is forest artist. He is ambassador of the forest. He believes artists are ambassadors of the forest. And also he is doing very interesting research about the legal aspects of how to protect forests. And he's currently doing PhD. And he's trying to find a way of legally protecting forests in perpetuity based on the fact that the actual bit of the land with forest planted on it is an artwork in itself. And he claims that cultural heritage is more easy to protect than natural heritage, which is a paradox, but he's playing with this idea, and we are hoping to also at some point create a platform for different artists who work with forest ecology, reforestation efforts, etc., to really start elevating all these different ideas and bringing together all this creative power to really, to help visualize the movement that is already happening, as we can see. And of course, you know the work of Andy Goldsworthy, and this is just one image, very, very ephemeral, something that is one day there, another day not. Everything is just hinging on photographs and videos, and it's a very, very deep and meditative work to assemble these intricate patterns. And so, as I mentioned to you, the Eternal Forest project is ongoing. It started 3 years ago, and I feel that every year it's growing in terms of its capacity, its idea space, people who are trying to join, artists, scientists, organizations. And already there are some eternal forest sanctuaries that are underway, and different municipalities in Portugal are interested. I am creating a forest sanctuary here in Ericeira. It's just north from Lisbon, where I live, with my own circle of guardians, which we assembled during the COVID time, and currently we are preparing to go to a local municipality to propose this idea and just to let them know about this project, to get some help and support, perhaps start looking for the land. This is another project in Coruche, in the center of Portugal, and this is my circle of guardians in Ericeira. And just some images of some of the work I did with forest experiences. The eternal forest experiences are a way of going deeper into a contemplative space and doing the work of deep connection and healing. And of course, there are layers to this work. I start working a little bit like the circles of forest baths work, so they're based more or less on sensory perception. First, people are experiencing through senses, but then my idea is that, okay, we connect with our senses. It's really important. We connect with our body. We connect our body to our mind. But then, what is beyond that, and how can we even integrate that and transcend that? What would be the next deeper level of connecting with the forest? And that's where I think a much deeper listening comes in, which of course is connected with spending more time and more regular intervals of time in the forest, and then receiving those messages and exchanging those messages, perhaps. This is my suggestion. This is something I'm working with right now, and I know many of you too. I would like to invite you to consider how can we do this work together internationally, on subtle level, but also on quite active physical level. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about all the different elements of the project. There is a presentation. I'm going to share this now in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. There is much more to it. There is a film, there is artwork, and you can have a look in your own time. The film is accessible online. I would really like to spend more time today with Kathleen, and really hearing from her about her creative process, about her art, about her work with TreeSisters, about her vision of inviting creativity, about the art of tuning into the feminine. So I would like to invite Kathleen to step in. I'm going to share all the things that I just shared with you on the screen in the chat. We are going to save the chat and it will be sent to you. So with this, I stop and I hand it over. I hand my magic flower, which I don't know. It's a brush. It's a brush. It's my creative brush. I hand it over to you.
I have, let's see what I've got right here. I'll take it up as the nest.
Beautiful.
This is a headdress that I made recently. I was invited to a tea party for creativity, and I was expressing TreeSisters, and so I decided to make my own little tea party hat. I was requested to wear tea party hat or something like that, so um, that was fun to do. But thank you so much for having me here, and Evgenia, you know that you and I, like you had said, we have really connected. I really appreciate that Susie invited you to come to TreeSisters. And once you came in, I knew that we were just sisters that were continuing, and we found each other. And this is part of the work that my heart supports, my spirit supports in everything that I do. And I personally want to be more a part of it with you. It just, every time we talk, it draws me deeper and deeper in. And I just love your expression and your listening. And you have a humble curiosity that it's different. It's unusual to meet somebody with such humble wisdom. You know, it's a balance that you carry. That is the nature of you. I appreciate you. So I'm so happy to see everybody here. I wish I'm one who likes to see faces, but I will get over that. I see Angelique and Linnea and Nancy. Hello, Nancy. And Osea. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And Julian and Aaron, Lara, Miriam, Vicky, or it could be Vicky, maybe, Vicky B, and Moira, who we heard from. And Lori, there you were hiding under a chat message for a minute. Oh, Lori, it's you. I wasn't sure, but I thought so. Thank you for coming. Yes, it's beautiful. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the artist. I am blessed to be the artist liaison and community engagement coordinator for TreeSisters. And TreeSisters is an international nonprofit organization, and there's two beautiful folds to the work that we do. One is that we are reforesting the planet. We're up over 12, I just wrote down the new number this morning, 24,943 trees. And then the other, that's mostly in the tropics, in Mozambique, India, Africa, Nepal. I look at all my little notes here. Nepal, Cameroon, Mozambique, South India, Kenya, all over Madagascar, Brazil, a lot of different areas in India, and West Papua. And we're getting a new one coming up soon that I can't fully announce yet. But we work with foresting projects to do the work. And the other half of our tree of TreeSisters, the other limb, the other trunk, is for feminine, nature-based feminine leadership. And that's, you know, bringing in the feminine energy, the nature energy within all of us, not just in our women, but also in our men and in everything that we are, and that everything that we naturally are, and our connection to nature. We work in these communities planting the trees, but it's about planting the trees. It's about honoring the forests that are there, also bringing in forests that may have been destroyed or in deforested areas, and also how those forests connect to the community, So we're talking about the women and the men and the children in these communities, and kind of giving them something that will hold them. The forest does that. The forest can recreate and support community for them. It gives them something to bring back the clarity of the air for them, you know, their water brings the fishes back with the mangroves, and, you know, the fishing population bringing in their jobs, bringing in their work, and they become guardians of the forest. And I see that as a really beautiful opportunity to seek for the expression that is being planted there as well, in an artistic way. I would love to, you know, sort of branch out into that area to see what are they hearing, you know, as almost out of nowhere, there is a tree project, you know, happening in their community that's literally bringing life back to them and their families and their communities, in some case saving lives. And not to be melodramatic about it, but it is true. There is a lot of poverty. There is a lot of you know, lack of sustenance, lack of food, lack of clean water, and the forests bring that back. It brings back the biodiversity. It brings back the health to the land, as well as the health to the people who live there. And the women are one that, you know, they kind of coordinate the, you know, they've been shown up as leaders in these communities. They come together and they coordinate, you know, who's going to work with these trees, who's going to be a guardian, who's going to keep. We don't just come in and plant and then leave. Come in and nurture them, and they need to make that promise, and they humbly do. They love to do that. They love to accept that. And I would love to see what, you know, what art can be created through the children and the women and the families that are, you know, these forests are being brought back to life for them, or in some cases bestowed where there was, you know, desertification, where there was none, it was taken. So bringing back that connection is so beautiful. I love that what we're talking about with Eternal Forest is to creating a longevity that we've never really looked at throughout that space and time that you're talking about. Something space outside of space and time outside of time. And that tunes in really beautifully to creativity and art for me. And you know, that is where creativity exists. It exists outside of the space, outside of the time. And I know, because I've fallen into it when I create, I've fallen into that space, and I lose all track of time. I lose all track of space. It doesn't really exist I feel that's, you know, that may be the portal. That may be part of the portal, at least. Evgenia and I have talked about TreeSisters and how we can, as a global organization, support the Eternal Forest Project, because I do see that we have so many, you know, tree sisters and tree brothers all around the planet that have their eyes on these spaces, who are walking in these forests, who are spending time with these trees, who are connecting and listening in these special places already. And so I feel that, you know, we're kind of set in the exact right positions. We're positioned to say, you know, here in my area, there's this forest, or here in my area, there needs to be, you know, more rules created around protecting this forest. And we've talked about, you know, what this could look like internationally as protecting. We have a forest here by me who was donated by a woman when she passed away. It's 150 acres, and it's fully native, and, you know, she kept it going, and in her will, she left it to the county. So when in my region, when something is left in a will, it's in perpetuity. So it is protected forever. And so that is one of the things that we wanted to key into, that Jenny and I were talking about. I would like to bring the notion of the eternal forest the construct actually of the eternal forest to the Schweitzer Forest Preserve, which they already have the perpetuity, and they're working, and everyone who is part of that project, is listening and caring and guardians of that forest. But to bring them on as part of linking them in to this map, this is what I see as a map of eternal forest all around the world, sacred forest becoming alive within us. And I think that, as Tree Sisters and Tree Brothers, we're positioned really beautifully to do that. Let's see. So what I wanted to do, we talk about bringing in the feminine leadership and nature-based feminine leadership, is even a deeper listening to the wildness of who we really are and the nature of what we really are. Our enhanced intelligence and intuition and wisdom, our intentionality and what we're doing and what we're putting forward, our courage and our authority and our creativity. So it's also about the receptivity and the gentleness and the kindness and the nurturing. But the nature-based is actually bringing us deeper in and saying, yes, we have these deeper roots. We have this deeper link, like this taproot into knowing how to care for ourselves the same as as our forests and our trees and all of nature. And opening up to our sensory capacities, like Jenny was saying, is getting us there. But yes, deepening into that even more, because we are part of it all. We are, like, as we smell, what does the smell taste like? As we taste, what does the taste sound like? There's all of these ways that trees and forests know the weather, or when an animal is coming, or when a storm is brewing, and what the wind is carrying and ready to take seeds of, as we create the clouds and the water through the trees, and of course the oxygen that we breathe. And all of those instincts are also, and sensory perceptions are also part of us. So it's like this big world that we're invited into now more than ever, becoming part of nature. So I have a little practice here. I just want to double check on our time. We have 12, and are we going for, how long do we have left, or how long?
We are really good on time right now, and I would like to finish today at 30 minutes past, because I have another commitment. So if in Portuguese time it will be 6:30, so in your time it will be 30 minutes past, but we have 35 minutes basically.
Yes, plenty of time. Okay, so again, I can take it nice and slow. So the first thing I'd like to do is bring clear our founder's energy into this. I hope everyone will look at Tree Sisters a little bit deeper and find out where it was, how all of it came together over 10 years ago. The original way was with Clara crashing into a tree, and that tree actually saved her from going off the cliff. So that tree was, kept her life going, but also while she was there, sort of stuck in this car smashed into the tree, she was safe, she was uninjured, but she was stuck there, and she heard the tree. She opened up in some way where she was able to hear the tree and the messages from the tree. And the tree gave her the name Tree Sisters. The tree gave her what the two twin parts of the tree are for reforesting the planet and empowering feminine nature-based leadership. The tree told her, go and bring the women together to reforest the planet. So she had all her information. She was then left to her own device with am I going to do this? Am I able to do this? And you can imagine all of the questioning going on. But the basis of everything that she kept coming back to was the listening and the knowing that she heard this from the tree. These were, you know, basically her her orders from nature, and she could say yes or no. And she, you know, says that she went back and forth, but with the help with other women that she knew supporting her to say yes, because she wanted to say yes. So she decided to say yes. And that's really the listening that we're talking about was born, was where how TreeSisters was born, through the listening of Claire. And just to tie that back to how I found TreeSisters was kind of close and similar. I didn't crash into a tree, but I woke with a vision of an event that needed to happen in the community. And I knew the moment that I had the vision, it was Gaia, it was Earth. I just know, I can't explain why. I felt the energy coming up through my feet 3 or 4 times throughout the day. But the moment that I put my foot on the floor that morning, I saw the entire vision of a place that was meant to host an event that would bring awareness to the community. And it was very odd. It had 2-story glass windows. It had water outside it, a small pond. It had curved hallways that went around in sort of a circle. Very tall, you know, maybe 40, 50 feet, I don't know. And it was open, and in the vision there were artists. Like, that was one of the first things that I saw in this event. There were artists, and they were putting together, you know, handcrafted things from earth pieces. There was recycled pieces they were doing things with. And then, but this was full. I mean, this was packed with people, and people bringing messages and information. There were solar panel people. There were wind turbines spinning. There was speakers from all the different, you know, political offices in the area listed on the, you know, on the boards, speaking at such and such time. There were farmers together. There were children outside by the pond being led by someone, walking around explaining different parts of our connection to nature. And just so much more, on and on and on. And I saw this vision and I thought, wow, this is so exciting. I went to my team that I was working with, a small, about 10 people on our community environmental team, and I said, I had this vision and we need to do it. And I told them, you know, all these details, many more than I've even just shared right now. I had so many of the details, and a lot of them were just kind of overwhelmed by it. They said, oh, we don't have time to do that, and we don't think that it's possible. You know, what we were doing is we were traveling around to like retirement homes or schools and different things like that, and sharing our knowledge about sustainability. But this was, all of a sudden, I'm just like, I think there's thousands of people waiting to come to this event and to get the information and have it disseminated out. And you know, it was the energy that they had, which was fine. But I realized what happened for me was that my courage was fragile. So when I got home, I cried. I said, oh, they don't want to do it. And I remember just sitting there going, just feeling completely knocked down. And it wasn't really, you know, anything that they did like strongly. They weren't mean to me or anything. They just were like, no, that's too much. We're not going to do that. And it was kind of like they all agreed that it was not. And but when I got home, I realized, I'm like, oh wow, what is that in me that could be so thrilled and excited and then just go, oh, okay, whatever. I'm broken. I can't do it. I need everybody else to be on the same page. I can't take that vision. And then I remember that, I told you that the energy came up a few times during the day, and it came up while I was crying again, and it came up through my feet again. And I was out in the yard at this point and in the garden, and it came up and it said, are you going to turn your back on me? Or are you going to turn your back on yourself? You feel this, so go with it. And so I said, oh, you know what? Yes, I'm scared as heck. I have nobody supporting me. But yes, I know this is vision from you. I know it's from you, Earth. I know that this is what I'm supposed to create. And it's a different type of art. It was nothing I'd ever done before. To create an event, to bring people together. That's, I mean, I painted, I taught, you know, I did a lot of things, but I never created like a full big event. It's small ones. So 2 days after that, and I still don't know how it happened, but I got a phone call from an organization in the community. And this is what I mean by how things that we tap into, our listening, our deep listening, if we trust it and we go for it, all of a sudden there's like this portal, this doorway. And it's like, okay, this is where it all goes. This is where it all comes from. I'm getting chills even as I speak about it. And this was an organization of all of the management and business owners in the community who were looking for a nonprofit project to get behind. And somehow they heard about mine. Still don't know how they heard about it. But they called me and they said, so there, we have 17 business owners and managers of different organizations in the community who are at your beck and call for this, you know, green event. That's all they knew that you want to put together. And I was floored. And I went back into my little community group, you know, the few days later we had another meeting or whatever, and I said, so they're helping me, you know, do you want to get on board? And they were like, well, we'll see how it goes, you know, we're here, but we're not. And I said, okay, well, I'll call it the name of our group, which was ECO at that time, and I said it'll be the Eco Green Expo, and I just put this name on it. Well, one of these people who volunteered happened to be the president of the local college. He was one of the first ones that called me because I was trying to organize, you know, okay, now I've got all these amazing volunteers. What do I do with them? You know, I mean, it was just completely new. And he calls, he said, I don't have a lot of time, but I want you to know that I am supporting you. He goes, if there's any way that I can help you, he said, do you have a space to do it in? And I said, no, and that's the most important thing that I need, obviously. And he says, come and meet me at this building. It was called the UBC. I had never been in there. And I hope that you all can guess already, it was the building from my vision. I stood there and cried, and so did he. He happened to be from Jamaica. He put his hand to his heart. His eyes filled up with water. We both held hands. He said, I am honored to be part of this. It had everything. So anyway, that is the story. It ended up having 3,000 people that came to it. Everything was there. All of the art that was created was actually put out into the grounds to become part of the school, the college. It started off a whole slew of things, and the community that I live in took it over and continued it for the next following 7 years. So that was all from listening. So I'm going to read this poem that Claire wrote just recently. It came through her. Let's take a nice deep breath. Beyond limitless. Let me breathe a while and soften. There is nowhere to go but inside, into the soft folds and welcoming arms of my own yearning soul. Let me take my time. Let me stop. For in stillness, the moment opens, and the radiance that floods and fills each breath can spill over into translucent knowing, sensual and clear. I may choose no words, yet smile. Tracing the tendrils of my heart over the pulsing newness rising, as I shed my skin and let my edges go. For the limitless beckons. I am not what you think you know. I am elemental wildness, wing beats and moon dust, dissolving ever closer, relaxing ever deeper into the aching arousal of life. From there, I'd like you to join me to rub your hands together. And I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey, and then we'll have a creative practice that you can all do together. And take your left hand and lay it flat on your right hand, and then just crisscross your thumbs and hold it to your heart. And we're going to do a breathing exercise first to open up our listening and our intuition, the space outside of space and the time outside of time, as Evgenia says. So once you breathe in through your mouth, and then blow it out through your mouth, in through your nose, again blow it out through your mouth, in through your mouth, and out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your nose, and again, in through your mouth, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your nose. One more time. In through your mouth, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your nose. And I just want your hands to fall in your thighs, your lap. Just notice the space around you now. And I want you to feel yourself as the tree, connecting your feet to the earth like deep roots, large taproot tapping all the way down, deep, deep, deep into the heart of Gaia. And all these beautiful intertwined roots, some going on the surface and some going deeper, all connected to the taproot, and allowing the flow, the creative flow of Mother Earth, the heart and the love that she is, that you are, that we are. And drawing up like the sapwood does of the tree, drawing the moisture, the water and the minerals, the wisdom and the love up from the roots into your center, into the heartwood of the tree that you are, into your heart as tree. And breathing here, taking in all of the nourishment, the refreshing waters. Let them carry the love to your heart. Listening. Listening here in this forest, in this ancient, eternal forest of the future. Letting that love open into a doorway panel within your heartwood, and listen. You're listening for a language we may not know. Be aware of your senses, what you smell, what you hear, what you taste. And what you see. In the future of this great, eternal, ancient forest. I want your branches to start to open while staying centered reaching them up to the heavens, to the mystery, to the cosmos, all that is divine. And feeling your branches reaching as your roots did, further and further out into the atmosphere, reaching for the sun, reaching past the sun to the stars. You notice your branches twirling and reaching and spiraling and reaching and connecting with all that is, with all the love that is you, that is us. And as an act of photosynthesis, you're bringing that back down in through your leaves and your branches and bringing it down into the trunk of your tree, of your body, as you, and stopping again in the heartwood. And going again into this opening, this doorway. It is calling to you because of your love of the forest, because of your love of nature and all earth. Going deep into the womb, the embryo, the seed, the beginning, where all this began. Then listen. Again, listening for a language you don't know, you may not know, you may know. For sounds, observe, bring your attention and your presence to what wants to come through. Something that wasn't there before. Notice. If it's hard to open or go into this space, just relax and take a few deep breaths. I promise it's there. And I want you to tell yourself to remember this. Tell your eyes to remember what they see. What you feel. Please remember what you hear. Continue putting your attention to the breath, remembering anything you smell, taste, feel, see, or hear. Don't push it. It's very subtle. And never known before. At least not in this way. I want you to bring all of that down, feeling the flow anchoring down deep into your roots and coming back up into your heart is now becoming part of who you are as tree, as we. We're going to go right to put this down, to make the marks, the markings, the sounds, the words, but it's just going to be writing, channeling, fluid. And just before we open our eyes, just remember all that you felt, heard, seen, smelled, touched. And hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pen nearby, and if you don't, you can take a couple minutes. I think we have a few minutes left. And just write down or scribble down, or don't even think about it. Let it be fully streaming out of you right now. Whatever the sounds are, the broken words, the syllables, the shapes, let them just flow. We'll take a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll end with a few minutes to share. And then I think we can always share later in the event page a little bit more of what came through. And when you're ready to share what came through, just you can hit the raise your hand button, or just take yourself off mute and Linnea is communing with her oak, and she's still there listening. And that is beautiful too. Whatever you are called to do, this listening could take you in for the rest of the day or night and tomorrow. From Evgenia, healing disrupted flow. air, water, fire, earth, breathing. Yeah. Mm. Second time you got tears. Mm. Mm. It's happening. So many on earth want this. Yes. These words tingle me. Mm. Yes, those tinglings, those sensations in our body is a language all of its own. From Evgenia, the space of eternal forest is a space for nature to self-heal herself. Biodiversity is healing for nature. Every element of biodiversity is there to heal the space and restore the natural balance. Yes, gives us such great hope. Grateful to connect with all of you in the mission. My Earth Tribe from Elizabeth. Need you expand this tribe. Anybody else like to share with their voice? Everybody's so deep, gone so deep. Well, we have one more minute until we close for today. So I would just invite anyone to share anything that comes through on the event page where this was. I think we'll stay alive for a little while, won't it, Evgenia? Okay. Evgenia, I felt the California, oh, I lost it. I felt that the California fires were in the space and I wish for healing. Thank you. Yes. And Vicky she's sketching. I am in sketch. I love I am in sketch. I love just the way you say that. Please join us at TreeSisters, TreeSisters.org, and as we continue to support the eternal forest as well as the new forest that we are planting in different parts of the world, that in the heart of the world, in the lungs of the world. And if I may, tomorrow is the last day to register for a creative journey I'm facilitating, which is kind of more like this. And you can find that on TreeSisters website. And I would love you to be part of it. And we share about Evgenia's work there as well, and a lot of the artists that you saw, the earth artists. Oh, I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much, Evgenia.
Thank you. Thank you all for being present. And thank you, Kathleen, for taking us so deep. Thank you so much. I would love to also share Creative Journey on Eternal Forest group, in case there are a lot of people in the group now, in case somebody would like to join. Also join TreeSisters, hopefully. So please send me all the links and I would be really happy to share. I will also send around this recording and I can put this information together with the recording as well.
Okay.
I will send the chat and I will share the chat with you. And I wish to be connected with all of you more and deeper and further as we go together. There will be a special event next new moon. There will be a date for this, and the special event is connected with my exhibition that I'm organizing in October in Lisbon. And the work that I'm doing now is about the presence of eucalyptus tree in Portugal, and not only. I think you have, those who are in California, you have a lot of them there. And as a lot of you know or might know, these trees have been taken out of Australia and put into monocultures. And what I'm trying to do with the help of the trees, and this is the call from the trees themselves, is to pass the message from the mother eucalyptus trees and the whole eucalyptus family to the people that they have a very important role to play in our ecosystems and in our culture, and especially where they ended up by not by their own choice. They still are there and they have a lot to say. So this work will be happening in October. It's happening now, but it will be made public in October. And this next conversation will be dedicated to this, and I will, of course, send you all invitations. So, and thank you so much for today's conversation. It was more like a deep journey. And yeah, I hope to continue more. Thank you.